San Diegans gather to remember the attack on Pearl Harbor 75 years later. It's natural, but it doesn't come naturally. The struggles some new moms face to breastfeed their babies and what hospitals are doing to help.
All you need is ignorance and confidence, and success is sure.
Mark Twain's political commentary seems as fresh today as it did more than 100 years ago. We'll have a review of a play featuring his wit and wisdom. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. About 400 people gathered on the USS Midway today to mark 75 years since the attack on Pearl Harbor. The ceremony included 4 of the remaining local survivors. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh has the story.
1, 2, one more.
94-year-old Gordon Jones was a naval aviation instrument technician at Naval Air Station Kaneohe Bay back in 1941.
We could see the planes coming in. But we didn't know what they were.
A day later, President Roosevelt called December 7th, 1941, a date that will live in infamy.
I was going to bring a piece of the plane that crashed into the USS Curtis.
Though the number of witnesses to the attack that drew the U.S. into World War II is dwindling.
My friends are gone, and I think about them. Guys I work with in the jungles of Guadalcanal, places like that.
The Survivors of Pearl Harbor Association disbanded 5 years ago. The San Diego chapter, the largest chapter in the country, is now under the Military Museum at Balboa Park. The event on the USS Midway Museum included the reading of names of Pearl Harbor survivors who died in the last year. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
In Hawaii, thousands of people gathered at Pearl Harbor this morning to observe a moment of silence at 7:55 a.m., the same moment Japanese planes began their assault in 1941. U.S. Pacific Command Commander Admiral Harry Harris spoke at the ceremony.
Today we have a precious opportunity to reflect on what it means to be a patriot, to reflect on what it means to be a nation tested by war, and to reflect on both the costs and the blessings of liberty.
The ceremony took place on a pier across from the harbor where the USS Arizona sank during the attack. More than 2,300 servicemen were killed that day. The California Senate will consider a bill to ban police from giving information about immigrants to federal agents. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has started asking law enforcement to notify them when immigrants are going to be released from jail. The bill would bar police from giving those notices. This is one of a series of bills aimed at protecting immigrants from President-elect Donald Trump's plans to step up deportations. Another proposed bill would create a state registry for hate crimes. Its supporters say it's a response to an increase in attacks on Latinos and Muslims after the presidential election. Under the bill, law enforcement would have to disclose hate crimes to the Department of Justice.
So even a small number of these incidents can have a very large impact on the climate and the feeling that people have. So this is why it's so important for law enforcement to prosecute these crimes when they arise and for people.
The registry will list the names of those convicted of hate crimes. California saw a 10% increase of hate crimes last year. A new study released today shows several cities in San Diego's North County have more people living in poverty now than before the economic downturn. KPBS North County Bureau reporter Allison St. John says while parts of North County are more affluent, there are significant numbers of people living below the federal poverty line.
There's a lot of variety in North County. It's certainly not as affluent as it appears. The study by the Center on Policy Initiatives uses 2015 census data to show a real contrast in household income. Median household income is more than $100,000 a year in Encinitas. In Escondido, it's about half that, $54,000 a year. At the bottom end of the economic spectrum, there are big differences too. About 5% live below the federal poverty level in Carlsbad, but that number jumps to almost 20% of Vista residents. Some cities seem to have recovered quite well from the economic recession, others not so much. This graph shows the poverty rate in both Carlsbad and San Marcos has returned to about the same now as it was before the downturn. You can see the green bar is the percentage of people living below the federal poverty level in 2017, and the blue bar shows the poverty rate last year. It has not changed that much. But in Escondido, Oceanside, and Vista, significantly more people are living in poverty, that's the blue bars, now than in 2007. In other words, the cities may have recovered economically, but more people are being left behind. It's worth noting that the city that's seen the biggest increase in poverty over time is Oceanside. You can see poverty there has pretty much doubled in the last 8 years, from 7% to 14%. Now, all these figures are of concern, but truth be told, even people who earn twice the federal poverty level are struggling to get by in our region. The study shows almost 30% of people in the North County are in that position, which is a little better than the county as a whole, but not much. Alison St. John, KPBS News.
California's urban water districts faltered in their water saving this October for the fourth month in a row. The goal is a 25% savings compared to 2013. On average, Californians save water in October at 19.5%. That's down by almost 3% when compared to the same period last year. Water officials say the greatest October water savings came from Northern California and most of the Central Valley.
The only area where we didn't see a lot of water savings, but it was still pretty darn good at 15.3%, is the LA region, the Southern California region, which is about 60% of the state's population.
The State Water Board is considering a new regulation to require water districts conserve 5 years instead of 3 years worth of water in case of another extreme drought. The board is expected to make a decision in January. San Diego got mixed reviews in the first ever Climate Action Plan report card. Fewer than half of the county's municipalities have a plan in place. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
The city of San Diego is setting the standard. It was the first community to adopt a plan, and its climate action blueprint is the most comprehensive. Nicole Capret says they found a mixed bag in the rest of the county. 5 communities have no plans, 7 are working on it, and 7 have plans in place.
Of those 7 climate action plans that we graded, only 4 meet the state 2030 greenhouse gas reduction target. So really, when you look at it, less than half of the cities in our region have taken any meaningful action on climate, and only a slice, about 10%, are even getting close to hitting the state targets.
Capret says the best plan includes a commitment to clean energy, low carbon transportation options, and zero waste. City Council member-elect Georgette Gomez says the plans also need to focus on equity in poorer communities.
The families in these communities deserve a better future. They deserve a future that provides a good infrastructure, that provides a healthy environment, that provides a pathway to ensure that the people in these communities strive for what they deserve, which is a better future.
The Climate Action Campaign hopes the annual report card will help communities set high standards and call out municipalities that aren't working toward the goal. Organizers say future report cards will measure how well communities are implementing the plans they approve. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Marti Emerald is preparing for life after politics. The outgoing councilwoman was first elected in 2008. Emerald chairs the Public Safety Committee, which requested and recently received a citywide racial profiling report. She says it's one of the projects she's glad she saw through.
Yes, racial profiling is happening. Black and Hispanic drivers are far more inclined to be pulled out of their cars, interviewed, patted down, searched, than whites. And we'd heard this anecdotally probably for generations, right? Mm-hmm. But we have respected researchers saying, okay, now we have quantified this. What are you going to do about it?
Thank you so much, City Council.
Emerald hopes city leaders after her use the data to implement real change to improve police-community relations.
We have a department filled with people who really do want to do the right thing. Sure. I think that if we create a better training environment, a better culture there that is more inclusive, that we will see change.
Emerald represents District 9. It includes City Heights, where 60 languages are spoken. Emerald says helping empower immigrants and refugees is something else she's proud of. This was also a day for California Senator Barbara Boxer to say farewell to colleagues in Washington. She had a long career there, 10 years in the House and 24 in the Senate. Today, she recounted her accomplishments, including the creation of a special care center for severely wounded veterans at Naval Hospital San Diego.
I was able to do every day what I always wanted to do, which was simply to make life better for people. I didn't always succeed. Were there frustrations? Yes. Were there disappointments? Yes. Were there defeats? Yes, many. But every morning when I woke up, I knew I had a chance to do something good.
Boxer says her biggest regret is that she could not end the war in Iraq. The health benefits of breastfeeding are widespread and long-lasting. And while the vast majority of women at least try to breastfeed their infants, a surprising percentage turn to formula within a few days of birth. In the first part of our three-part series on breastfeeding, KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg takes a look at the role hospitals play in encouraging the practice.
Okay, buddy, you're going to be good, okay?
Carolina Albenstaden was determined to breastfeed her firstborn child. But when Kai was born last June, things didn't work out like she had planned.
At first with Kai, I'm not going to lie, it was very challenging. I had a difficult delivery with a bunch of issues, and Kai ended up being in the NICU.
Kai was in intensive care for a few days. As soon as he got out, Albenstaden tried to breastfeed him. Her nipples were sore. Kai couldn't latch on. Albenstaden started to panic.
It's amazing how emotional this breastfeeding can be, how, we have our hormones are going crazy, we're overwhelmed, we want to feed our babies, and we're losing perspective.
Fortunately, Kai was born at Scripps Memorial Hospital in Encinitas, where they have 6 board-certified lactation consultants.
I sat down, got some help, positioned Kai, and he latched on, and it didn't hurt.
Hi. Oh, let me see your sweet baby.
He was just nursing, but he
look
just
at how beautiful you are.
Vicki Wolfram was the lead lactation consultant at Scripps Encinitas.
Oh yeah, look at that. I can see the palate.
She passed away after we interviewed her. Lactation consultants at this hospital check in with every new mom.
He's being so polite. Look at how he's sticking his tongue out for me.
And make sure that they aren't having any problems with breastfeeding.
Did this little one get on the skin to skin and get on the breast in the first hour?
Yes, he did.
How did that go? Was he pretty vigorous, or?
He was, yeah. He's been pretty interested since we put him on, and he's been nursing a lot.
All of the staff at Scripps Encinitas have been trained on best practices to promote breastfeeding.
This is where we have pumps to rent.
Wolfram said these include helping moms to initiate breastfeeding within an hour of birth.
So if the baby is placed skin to skin, a lot of times the baby will try to scooch over to the breast and will actually just latch on all by themselves. Doesn't always happen, and in those cases the nurse of course will help, but if she's not having success, then she'll come and get the lactation consultant.
Scripps Encinitas has adopted the 10 steps needed to become a baby-friendly hospital. The World Health Organization introduced the Baby Friendly Hospital Initiative in 1991. It's based on research that shows breastfed infants have lower rates of asthma, childhood obesity, and a number of other adverse health conditions. Scripps Encinitas became the first baby-friendly hospital in the county in 2004.
When did he eat last?
Nurse Judy Mills has worked at the hospital for 18 years.
How you doing, buddy?
She says some women have a lot of problems with breastfeeding.
But we can certainly work with those moms, and we have, and we do help them to succeed. We have all kinds of things we pull out of our hat to make them be able to breastfeed and be successful at it.
The California Department of Public Health issues an annual report on in-hospital breastfeeding rates. The latest report reveals nearly 91% of women exclusively breastfeed their babies at Scripps Encinitas. But just 15 miles away, here at Tri-City Medical Center in Oceanside, the in-hospital breastfeeding rates are much lower. Tri-City is not a certified baby-friendly hospital.
So this is our new updated labor and delivery room.
Tri-City's Marissa Allen says her staff does encourage breastfeeding, but she admits only 57% of moms exclusively breastfeed at Tri-City.
We have moms that come in that want to exclusively breastfeed, and we try to support them the best that we can. And some moms that come in, and if they ask for formula, we give them the risks of formula, but it's ultimately, again, their choice.
The World Health Organization says hospital staff that are trained in baby-friendly techniques greatly increase the percentage of moms who exclusively breastfeed.
Medical, surgical, ICU.
Bella Kaufman is Senior Director of Clinical Services at Scripps Encinitas. She points out not all women come in wanting to breastfeed.
There are a lot of moms who really don't know the difference still. And the formula companies do an excellent job of marketing.
Baby formula.
Nobody markets breastfeeding because nobody gets paid for marketing breastfeeding.
Trust Enfamil to nourish your baby.
Nonetheless, California law requires all hospitals that have a birthing center to be baby-friendly by 2025. Only 4 hospitals in San Diego County currently have that designation. Kenny Goldberg, KPBS News.
In part 2 of our series on breastfeeding, we explore some cultural and economic barriers. That's tomorrow night here on Evening Edition.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next News Hour. 75 years after the attack on Pearl Harbor, we listen to news reports from that day that's lived in infamy. Join us Wednesday on the PBS News Hour.
The ongoing drought is making the nation's forests vulnerable to pests, and 2/3 of them could be at risk by 2027. AP reporter Michael Hill says this could end up costing billions of dollars for dead tree removal and could jeopardize long-standing U.S. industries that rely on timber.
The toll on the nation's sprawling forests is readily apparent, though the culprit is not always visible. Invasive insects like the southern pine beetle and the emerald ash borer are attacking trees from the northeast to California to Florida. One study found almost 2/3 of U.S. woodlands will be at risk by 2027, causing a multi-billion-dollar problem.
This should be a dark green canopy, and this should be very shaded underneath. And so the fact we can see so much gray and brown from the twigs, it's striking.
In Massachusetts, hemlock trees are being killed by the hemlock woolly adelgid, a sap-sucking bug no bigger than a speck of pepper. Increased global trade means more bugs and blights are getting into the country on plants or packaging material. Droughts leave trees weaker.
Many of these pests can build up very large numbers on individual trees within a few years' time, and so the tree can't really fight that off through any natural resistance, and we just don't have any effective native predators.
Scientists are scrambling for solutions. In Syracuse, New York, William Powell leads a team growing trees to fend off chestnut blight. The fungus has killed billions of American chestnut trees in the last century. Many of these trees have been genetically tweaked with a gene found in wheat.
What we're doing with transgenics is we take the original American chestnut tree and only add a couple genes, and therefore nothing else has changed. The only thing we're adding is genes to make it blight resistant.
Powell believes similar genetic modifications can fight other killer pests.
The general principles of genetic engineering can be applied to emerald ash borer, to hemlock woolly adelgid, to thousand canker disease of walnut, sudden oak death.
Other solutions being explored include crossbreeding vulnerable breeds and planting trees far from their normal ranges to escape pests. Still others propose restricting imports of live trees and shrubs. But there are no quick fixes. Breeding takes decades, and genetically engineered trees need federal approval. Success measured not in years, but in generations. Michael Hill, Associated Press.
Sunshine, mild temps, and clouds. Sounds like fall in San Diego. Shanae Shocker has tonight's forecast.
Well, the last 2 days here across the southern coast of California, we have been seeing a pretty thick marine layer. That means some fog as well as some lower clouds throughout the morning hours. Now, as we head into tonight and into tomorrow, we're going to start to have an offshore flow, and that's going to clear out our clouds quite a bit. So as we take a look at the satellite radar, you can see quite a bit of those clouds pushing into the east and over San Diego County. Those will begin to die down. We'll pick up a couple of high clouds still, though. For tonight, mainly clear conditions, 50 degrees for our low. As we take a look at the rest of the county along the coast, we're in the 40s and 50 degrees in the metro area, and then we head into the mountains. Temperatures cool down for our lows into the 30s, right at freezing near Mount Laguna. Borrego Springs, 39. Oceanside off to the north, 41 degrees there. Into our Wednesday, we have this area of high pressure, and that's going to be what's causing our offshore flow, keeping things relatively dry. Off to the north, however, some afternoon rain in the parts of the coastal regions of Northern California. And the rain's going to stick around out there as well as we head in towards later in the week. We're going to stay pretty mild out along the Southern California coast. But in the northwest and Northern California, it looks like things are going to get chilly as well as quite a bit snowy. Be ready for some white out on the roads. Here's a look as we head into the coast. We are going to see relatively slightly warmer conditions as we head towards the weekend. On our Thursday and Friday, we're going to be seeing some of that sunshine return quite nice, and towards Saturday, building it back up into some clouds, and into Sunday, those clouds will begin to decrease. We'll have some pretty nice temperatures heading towards the weekend. So overall, we're relatively mild, staying in the upper 60s. Overnight lows not too bad either, down into the 40s. Now inland, we're in the low 70s heading towards our Friday, and temperatures drop into the mid 60s. For our Saturday, overnight lows also very mild here as well, in the low 50s for Friday into Saturday. By the end of the weekend, we're back into low 70s for our temperatures, with increasing cloud cover or decreasing cloud cover come Sunday. Into Monday, that sunshine's going to return. The mountains staying breezy for your Thursday, and into Friday, they'll begin to taper off. Periods of sunshine there. Our highs here definitely cooler, with we're sticking to the low to mid 50s through Saturday, and then as we head towards Monday, back into the 60s. So overall, going to be a pretty nice week out there into the mountains and the deserts. Relatively similar as far as the good weather pattern across the board. Mostly sunny conditions for our Thursday. Heading towards our Friday, we'll keep some of that as well, but our temperatures, they jump back up into the 70s as well. We're back into the mid-upper 70s by Saturday, and we're going to stay there through Monday with plenty of sunshine as well. Our overnight low is going to stay in the 40s, relatively mild. For KPBS News, I'm Shanae Shocker.
About 80 San Diego families are getting an early holiday present this year, family portraits they wouldn't otherwise be able to afford. KPBS education reporter Megan Burks looks at how an arts education program is giving back.
Professional grade photography lights, a makeup artist, and big smiles.
Beyonce!
These are the sights and sounds of a professional photography shoot. But behind the big camera taking test shots is 10-year-old Jareth Martinez.
That looks good.
He and his classmates at Cherokee Point Elementary School filled in as photography assistants Tuesday at a free portrait event put on by Outside the Lens. Hillary Moorfield of the nonprofit visits Jareth's class weekly to boost arts education at the school.
And I want them to see photographers working in a professional setting so that they see that as a potential for them in the future.
The professional portraits will be handed out at a school festival next week in donated frames.
These are fun. Great job.
Megan Burks, KPBS News.
If you're still sorting through emotions about this year's election, then here's someone who might be able to help. Mark Twain. Actor Val Kilmer will present a screening of his one-man show, Citizens Twain, tomorrow night at the Ken Cinema. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando has this preview.
Mark Twain started writing in the 19th century, but his keen observations still resonate today.
All you need is ignorance and confidence, and success is sure.
And his feelings about American politics may connect with 21st century voters.
All right, imagine you're a member of Congress. Now, imagine you're an idiot. But I repeat myself. With elections, that's just when people find out what politicians will stand for, and politicians find out what people will fall for. Yes, politics, that's just show business for ugly folk.
Actor, writer, director Val Kilmer has created a film version of his one-man show called Citizen Twain. The show lets the author and humorist shine with a surprisingly modern wit. But then intelligence never goes out of style. Kilmer will be in San Diego on December 8th at the Ken Cinema to introduce the film and hold a Q&A after. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
In the days leading up to December 25th, holiday music is filling the state capitol. Bands and choirs from across the Sacramento area will share their cheer with visitors for about 4 hours a day. The tradition of celebrating Christmas inside the state capitol started in 1869. Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow on KPBS. On Morning Edition, we'll hear about a small city in the Sacramento Valley area how it turned into a home for a Sikh community. And on Midday Edition, with drunk driving spiking during the holidays, law enforcement is taking steps to raise awareness about the dangers of driving while intoxicated. That's tomorrow on KPBS Radio. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.